Mondello Park definitely has been a huge part of Irish drifting for the last number of years. In fact, without them and their support, I don't think we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Although it didn't start that way, because when I started in 2013, I proposed, being naive, I suppose, and ambitious in my first year, the biggest event in drifting in Europe in Mondello Park, bringing in, Daigo Saito and all the Japanese champions, guys from Europe and America. It was a huge cost. And at the start of that, I was almost laughed out of the room. They almost said, this will never happen. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But the more I convinced and maybe begged and pleaded, they worked with me on that event. And it broke all the attendance records in Mondello Park since like the 80s. So the confidence with Mondello then changed that this drifting thing could actually be something very positive for the venue. And since then, they've laid tarmac in numerous sections for us specifically. They've given us a home and an office to work from. And to be honest, they're the only reason we've had a huge amount of success on the massive events, because some of those events we just don't have the budget to run. And a lot of people think, when people come to the events and they pay their tickets, that they're paying it to us, but they're actually paying it to Mondello Park, which seems like a bad thing. And I think a lot of people give Mondello a bad rep, but there's huge overheads there to running those events and huge risk, and they're taking just as much risk as we are at times on Irish drifting. And going into round 3, after a shaky start and then a sort of a less than impressive Dundee, we went back to our home. And it's a safe round. We weren't taking a huge amount of financial risk on it, and we couldn't because we didn't have it at that time. So, they stepped in and we could keep that championship on the road. And it was a big event. It was a big turning point for me, because not only had we not hit our own targets for the first 2 events, but now if we didn't hit Mondello's, I don't think we had anywhere else to turn. So here we are at round 3 of the championship, and 5 drivers have emerged as potential champions mathematically. Alan Hines, Jack Shanahan, Paul McCarthy, Ryan Caldwell and Lee Scott. So after this round, probably some of those names are going to drop off the hunt. So they were probably pretty comfortable and happy going into a track layout that they already knew. Conor Shanahan had borrowed 2 cars over 2 rounds and both had mechanical failures. So he'd actually shipped back his car from Europe to go up against the best in Ireland again and try and see where he stacks up. With heavy rain forecast for later in the day and our financials definitely hanging by a thread, it was a nervy weekend from the start.
All over the place.
Grip off of clip 1 is mental, and then clip 2 wants to just throw you off.
Kill you. So.
Clip 1 is very, very grippy. Everyone's trying to go in normally, and it's actually not working. They're coming off of clip 1 and just going straight for 2.
Yeah.
And going way too far into 2. It's proven actually difficult for everyone out there, I think. All their first runs were, as you'd expect, first run in the morning, but it's not proven easy out there for them. I was watching all the runs. The only one that's kind of feeling fluent out there, I'd imagine, is Jack. From his first run, I know he noticed that there's a lot of grip in clip 1. His second run, he's been throwing it. He's been man-footing it into the first clip and through clip 2 to 3. It's been working. He still has a bit of work to do. There's still a lot more room for him to go. Then again, it's only practice, but he's probably the most fluent one out there at the moment. Early days yet.
So in Mondello, speed is everything. Coming into turn 1, it's not only important to carry speed, but also momentum. And to do that, you have to be on the right line. What we have as a kind of an ace up the sleeve is we have a spotter that watches every move that we make, every turn of the steering wheel, every blip of the throttle. I mean, I can't see from the outside. Bear in mind that drifting is a judged sport. So we have to be able to not just do what we feel happy with, but what other people will feel happy with too.
At this round, I've got one guy one side of the track and another at the far side, because we really want to try and nail qualifying. you're still trying to judge the back of the car. Like, nobody knows exactly how far away they are from stuff, and from the outside they can tell me stuff that I can't see from inside the car. I can't really feel. You know, you need to see it from like a spectator's point of view, or more importantly, the judge's point of view.
My spotter has no issues telling me when I'm doing something wrong, which is exactly what I need to really dial that line in.
You have to know him like the back of your hand, that he knows he's watching everything. Like, it's not just watching you, it's watching every single driver during practice. Like, you don't know who you're going to pull, so he needs to keep an eye on what everybody's doing.
I think we have a deviate on the back left.
Oh no, big impact with the wall.
87, that's a big score for the 17-year-old in a Sierra.
Drops a wheel. Balby throwing everything at it. A 92.7, wouldn't you believe it? Look at this, they've almost backwards through the first corner. Big transfer onto the wall. Keeps it going, and across the line goes Jack Shanahan.
A 95.3 for Jack Shanahan puts him into first position.
Over the years, Irish drifting has attracted people from all over the world. One of those people being Sultan Al Qasimi. He's part of the UAE royal family, and on his downtime comes over to Ireland drifting.
So I came to Drift Games because we have a lot of friends here and we have a great time, and the competition is always really high. And it's the breeding ground for most of the new champions. Like, a lot of great names came out of this place, so I like to mix it with the best, as they say, and just, you know, see where I stand.
Sultan's car is like nothing I've seen anyone's kind of seen before in the drift scene. It's like a full crushed carbon, 250,000 quid car.
The car is actually really good. It's a mid-engine, aluminum chassis, wheelbase is amazing. The car drives like an S13. In my opinion, the balance is amazing. It's a 50-50 weight balance. I mean, there's wise fab up front. The car is really good.
The championship has never been this close at this stage of the season. We are ready to go to the start line for the first of our top 32 battles. It's going to come thick and fast. Sultan Al Qasimi from the United Arab Emirates. He goes up against young gun Luke Barker from the UK. Sultan Al Qasimi, nice end wide clipping zone 3. Luke Barker now starting to make that big dive.
Does he manage to hold it? And he does. They manages to keep it going. Sultan Al Qasimi takes it down to the wall. No fear in that Aston Martin as Luke Barker washes a little bit wide.
Barker now starts to pull a big advantage.
Oh, but does Barker go off?
Barker's dropping a wheel into the grommets. It's not pretty from either driver at the moment. Can they tidy it up towards the end here?
He dropped 2 wheels, so let's just wait for the judges on this one.
Sultan Al Qasimi goes through to the top 16. A lot of mistakes from both drivers there.
You got it, buddy. You got it. You got it.
Fucking A, amazing. Happy days. Let's get some fuel and tires and get ready.
All right, get back here. We'll be waiting.
He has a big team, one of the biggest on the grid, most professional teams on the grid with Darren McNamara. Their relationship together is almost comical at times. Like, obviously Darren gets the job done and everything like that, but the banter they have between each other, whether he wins or loses, there's still laughs and everything down the radios and stuff. And this year, like, to see that firsthand, it's such a bizarre relationship that those two guys have built from two different ends of the world, and it's just great to see on the grid.
That was all luck. He messed up. You're lucky motherfucker. Who have you got next? Paul McCartney. Oh, McCartney. He was good. Okay. One battle at a time now. One at a time.
Great line from Jordan Boyce and that little Sierra.
Here comes Harry Kerr. Pete Nielsen right beside him. They almost come together.
Big stroke from the V8.
Kicks up a little bit of dust as he gets on the inside. Alan Hines, 1 Rogers on the back bumper, down the stretch, they come through the first corner. Francis O'Shea looks to lay down that lead line. Big angle into the wall, contact and a spin.
While some drivers were worrying about beating their opponent, some were actually worried would they even get onto the grid at all. We're just hearing some words from the marshals that Basmol is not on the line, so he triggers an automatic 5-minute rule at the moment as Basmol having issues with his car at the end of practice.
So my team is now really busy with fixing my clutch, and my last run at free practice, hydraulic line which operates my clutch broke on a knuckle and it started leaking hydraulic fluid. So my clutch didn't respond to my input on the pedal. Unfortunately, we didn't have the exact same hose with us, but they're doing their absolute best to get my car fixed up for top 32. They're incredible. They can improvise. It's yeah, I have a lot of trust in them.
They have the clock here, so you have only 5 minutes left now. Yeah, they started the counting now.
Runs very similarly in battles as it does in qualifying, simply because you've got to be in the right spot at the right time. That's how the game works, and Basmol at the moment, something up with that car.
Okay, mate. Good luck. Do your thing. Don't think about the clutch. Use it as less as possible.
It looks like Basmol has beaten the 5-minute clock to get back onto the start line. Confirmation that Basmol will attempt this without a clutch in the car.
No, stop. Not good enough. It's not going to be good enough.
The engine is still cold, so what he has to do?
If it gets to 50, it'll be okay, the engine. He just has to go. It's going to fucking stall when you put the hand. Yeah. You're just going to have to leave the clutch out and start it and go. I don't know what's going to happen.
I said to him, don't use the handbrake, only do left foot braking, try to do it.
If you can do a run without a handbrake, then this is the time to do it, but probably not happening.
Darren says, try not to stall on the start line. So probeer wel met veel gas weg te rijden.
Left and right saying this could be my time. He's in the chase position and he's chasing the car with no clutch, so let's see how it goes. E46 to see how he gets into that first corner, and he goes into it pretty okay.
Looks like he's running wide though, Dave. Can he keep it alive? He certainly can. And where's Sean Watt? He's lost here at the moment. Maybe he just doesn't know what to do, but Basmol now, for a man with no clutch, how is he managing to get this car around the grid is beyond me. Sean Watt just lost though, cannot gain any proximity.
The gearbox is rattling.
Nothing we can do about it. Just finish the battle.
Drive like you stole it.
Sean Watt makes a big error there on the first corner. I'm not sure if that was anything to do with Basmol. It looks like Sean Watt is having issues with that car already.
Yeah, I think so, Dave. When you look at it over the course of the 2 runs, he just hasn't looked comfortable. A lot of unforced errors, and we see it again. Very straight behind him now. And
he couldn't transition. He had no clutch to kick it again after Sean Watt had slowed. So I think that's going to come down to the first corner and what happened there. Our system there, it's all for Sean Watt. Sean Watt gets the call and goes through.
Sorry, it's Sean Watt.
Sorry, buddy.
Jammer.
I'm sorry, dude.
Nah, no worries, man.
These
things happen. Thanks for trying, man.
Fuck, we should have fixed it. Not having the correct part, trying to make something is just stressful, yeah, stressful. So we sent him out the way it wasn't good enough. Unfortunately, I'll take that one. I'll take that one on the chin, that we couldn't get it back going for him, but happy for my buddy Sultan. He's still in and onto the 16, so try and keep the positives.
When we first started making events, you know, when we talk about media from an event, it was like 2 weeks later a video came out. That was the media, you know, not so long ago. And then we decided to jump into the live stream arena. So we hooked up with Martin Kavanagh in See It Live, who's excellent at what he does. But the more excellent somebody is at what they do, whether it be live stream or camera work or photography, then they come with a premium price too. So we were spending a lot of money on production. We had, you know, designed full graphic systems. We had this looking like Sky Sports, but it was still a clubman sport. We were at that point, as far as I'm aware, the only live broadcasted motorsport in Ireland, but we weren't making anything out of that production. And if we decided to drop any of that production quality, then people would obviously be negative and critical again. So you had two principles working against each other. You have one where you're trying to spend tons of money to make it look $1 million, and then the other side you don't have $1 million. So eventually you're starting to run the bank dry, and the problem with that is you're putting all this effort and time in to a free product. No one's paying a license, no one's paying a pay-per-view. The sponsors are covering a certain amount of it, which is really appreciated. But it's negative, really, because you're giving someone for free that may not come to the event because they can sit at home with that convenience. So it's pulling against itself all the time, and the pressure of trying to get that broadcast right is probably something we should never have put ourselves under. I mean, at the end of the day, running a professional drift event is very difficult, but trying to run a TV show on top of it is near impossible. Paul McCarthy is one of my favourite drivers on the grid. Ever since I started in the sport, he's been there, doing it on his own budget, not following the crowd and spending loads of money, and he's always been in the championship fight. He's always been in the top 5. And with some of the bigger names leaving this year, I think Paul definitely thought to himself, this is my year. This is the year that I think if he won the championship this year, he would retire happy from the sport.
My aim this year, to be quite honest, going into it at the start of the year, is aiming for a championship. I think the car is very nearly there, so I don't want to be making excuses for myself. I want to be able to give it a proper go this year, and it would be nice to be able to be going into round 5 with a proper fighting chance to maybe win the championship.
Yeah, no matter, we're here ready to go.
McCarthy on a strong lead line, but here comes Sultan Al-Qasimi throwing that vantage and throwing it into a spin as he came hunting for the door of Paul McCarthy, and McCarthy will see that in his rearview mirror and just smile from ear to ear. He knows it's a huge advantage.
He spun behind you there going down into Honda, so it'll be 10-0 to you there. He spun behind you. You hear that? He spun behind you there.
Leaving a big disadvantage to Sultan Al-Qasimi.
No, and Sultan needs a rub of the green here to try and reclaw some of the disadvantage from the first run. Safely through the first corner. You can just see both drivers, Dave, very tentative through that first corner with a little bit of drop of the rain. But Sultan on the core line now, that he has this in the bag with a clean pass to the circuit, and that is exactly what he's done.
Paul McCarthy going to the top 8. Paul McCarthy's on his way to the top 8.
Rain is coming now. Do you want to put freshers on for rain? Nah. Better off, I'd say, with half. Actually, probably right, yeah. Just drop down to fucking. That's going to be horrendous out there on the way, I'd say. And the worst thing is I'll be leading the first run no matter who I'm against. Are you going out again there now? Might as well, I'd say. I know the 2Ds aren't really bollocks the entry anyway. So it's horrendous out there now. Oh my god. Bad. Oh! That is not good.
Well, you see, that's what's going to fucking happen now.
It's the entry is going to be the killer.
If it just gets fully wet, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
We're in Ireland. It rains all the time, and it's probably one of the biggest challenges of running an event. It makes things very difficult. The track gets slippery, people go off a lot more, the driving doesn't look as good, there's no smoke. But when it comes to the event organisation, it also has a big impact as well. You can lose 10,000-15,000 euro in an event immediately if it rains. People will just stay at home and watch the live stream. They're not going to stand in Mondello Park when it rains, so the atmosphere starts to die down. And I definitely think for drivers it changes the game completely. The one positive of a wet event is that, you know, it's all down to driver ability. You turn up to these events, these guys have different cars and engines and setups and budgets, but when it rains, everybody's on an even playing field. It's almost like giving every car on the grid the exact same car to every driver and saying no one has any grip anymore, no one has any power anymore, it's down to driver ability. And that can make it, even though it's a bit miserable to watch, a lot more unpredictable and a lot more entertaining.
You see the rain coming down, and I think a big thing is a lot of drivers panic, and especially on this track, no matter where I've driven the world, this is always the toughest track. In the rain, it's like that first corner is like you do it like a split second later on entry and you're gone off into the grass.
Mondello's very unpredictable in the wet. It's strange when you come over the hill in Mondello, when you pull the handbrake, the car actually wants to go faster, not slow down.
Everyone's on the same playing field. It kind of zeroes everyone's down now to the same point of where they now have to reset and start again.
You just have to be a bit more attentive to how you're going to initiate, your throttle input, all that kind of stuff.
Look at the standing water on the track there.
Yeah, Roger's throwing big angle at it. Shannon just holds back and now starts to make the attack, keeping that proximity, not doing a whole lot wrong.
Connor Shanahan goes through to the top 8.
You can see these drivers just battling to try and get comfortable out on the circuit. Oh, inches from making contact, doesn't give Caldwell an inch to breathe. Caldwell hasn't got an answer for him. Could one of our championship hopefuls be about to bow out of competition? Or can he find something special? Oh, but Fury spins!
Hines gets himself back in the mix, managing the conditions as good as anyone out there.
Alan Hine goes through momentum and on angle. comfortable, wet or dry in this chassis. McCarthy, a master in these conditions. Conlon is a sitting duck here now as he just tries to gain some ground, washes very wide and just loses pace as he comes by Link ECU corner.
It'll be an inactive chase here if he doesn't get to the second last clipping zone before McCarthy gets there, and he just about maybe got there.
But I think for McCarthy, he's just got to worry about not making a whole lot of errors and having a reasonably close chase.
My spotter John came on to say that I probably had a pretty good advantage not to do anything stupid.
No need to go too aggressive. I maintain reasonable proximity. I should be going through to a final four. Here we go though. Conlon leading them in. McCarthy right on that rear bumper of the S15. As they go sideways and McCarthy spins behind Conlon, Dave.
Maybe he put a little bit too much pressure on himself. Maybe he knew this turning point at round 3 was his time to catch back up on the top guys, and it didn't work in his favour. It didn't go the way he wanted.
He went way too wide, like, and just completely shut off, like, just slamming the brakes, like. Like, I know you said I had a big advantage, but I was like, okay, I've an advantage, but I didn't know how much of an advantage I have. That's why I was saying, like, I couldn't leave 5 car lengths on it. Like, I know now, the one thing I picked up is you said, don't do anything stupid, which usually means you have a fairly big advantage. And what did I do? Fuck's sake.
At the midpoint of the season, you know who's in or out for the championship race. I mean, at that point, you're starting to see some guys leave the pack and look like favourites and look very strong, and you have others that are starting to drop off. Not to say that they can't win the round or win rounds left in the season, but if you're just on the cusp of being in the championship race, it can almost be the most pressure, because you know one mistake at that round and you're definitely not going to be lifting the trophy at the end of the year. And I think that pressure builds up on a lot of drivers, and I think at round 3 we saw a lot of big names drop off. Bernie's gone off the track
into the gravel.
Lee Scott eliminated in the top 16. Conor Shanahan gets the win and goes through to the final 4.
Everyone who's helping me, you know, do what we do in Europe and in Ireland, they're not guys that are paid. They just love the sport, and they're always in our garage making sure that we're ready for the event and stuff. And you know, it's not like they're qualified mechanics that work on race cars. You know, they're guys who would try anything to make it work. And when you've 2 guys and you don't have a massive team, yeah, it does make things difficult.
On the battle after this battle, like, are they slow? Like, on the next battle, like. I know, yeah. Oh, fuck yeah, you fucking wanker of a thing.
You just got to get it done, and the guys are incredible. They always manage to get the job done. Sometimes it's a bit last minute, but yeah, we get there at the end.
Well, I don't want to rain on anyone's parade, but Alan Hines might have a big statement to make against Conor Shanahan. Hines will be in the chase, and look at this, Hines taking a jump off the line here, right behind Conor Shanahan. Conor Shanahan's got a lot of grip in that S15 here in the wet, and Alan Hines now starts to cut the corner a little bit to stay with Shanahan. A lot of standing water out there, a lot to deal with. It transitions perfectly, but a little strain from Hines, a little wobble as they come through that section. Now Hines has got to make the move here. He's got to get right onto the door, and he does exactly that. Onto the wall, onto the door, contact, and across the line.
Who's it going to be? Can Shanahan keep with Hines side by side as they just throw caution to the wind and throw those cars on big angle into that first corner? Avoids letting Shanahan anywhere near the door of that S14, but Shanahan's now coming hunting for it. They make contact bumper to bumper on transition, but Shanahan just not able to match that final dive that Hines had. Proximity through the final sections from Shanahan, but is it enough, Dave?
Conor Shanahan, he gets the win. It's going to be Shanahan versus
Ah, well. Yeah, look, we still have the third fork race playoff. So, might need a tyre change, lads. Maybe.
I know I can beat the guys. I can beat Jack, I can beat Conor, I know I can do it. But we just haven't, not everything has fallen our way, and I think we just lack a bit of experience to know how hard to attack. Personally, I felt I should have beaten Conor today. You know, I had the mindset, I had the confidence to beat Conor today, and I should have done it, but unfortunately we just left too much on the table on the start line.
I haven't really driven the car much in the wet. Hopefully we can continue and get to the final again. So as far as I'm sure, Alan Hines is knocked out, so I think I'm already ahead of championship. So if we can get in top, we can make a bit of a put on championship, and Paul McCarthy's got knocked out as well, so I can try and make a bit of a lead for myself. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Shanahan with a huge gap. Can he keep this going, or will Conlon find some pace?
Conlon is in trouble here.
Jack Shanahan would beat Paul Conlon to head into his second final in a row, which was pretty impressive. Even though Alan Hines would lose out on going to the final, he would still go on to grab third spot after beating Paul Conlon, so his championship hopes were still very much alive.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Alan. Great job.
Great job, man. Good stuff.
Coming into this year, we wanted it to be a big year. We built 2 new cars and we basically had a brand new team, and you know, we're pushing the brand, the Shanahans, very much, and competing at such a high level together, it's like it makes a massive difference because you have that friendship, that person you can talk to if you have a problem. You know, if I'm struggling or I'm having a car problem, you know, I wouldn't have much knowledge in car terms compared to Jack. He's quite turned on and stuff like that, and you know, if I need to ask him something, he'll always tell me. Whereas, you know, you ask another driver, but every other driver in the grid is not going to give you an honest answer. They're going to tell you something, and you know, that's one thing about drifting. Drivers will help you out, but it's good to have a driver there. You know, if you're struggling with a track, it's the same for Jack. You know, he can come ask me or I can ask him. You know, and Jack is a guy who gets the track very fast, and takes me always a couple of laps to get into it. And you know, you watch his runs and you're like, wow, you know, he's on it. You know, his qualifying runs are always insane, and he's always that guy who can just like tell you, okay, change this and it'll be much, much better. And you go out there and you do that one thing, and it, you know, completely changes the run. But yeah, it's good to have Jack in the championship, of course. He's pushed me massively in my career, and I think, to be honest, I wouldn't be at the level I'm at if it wasn't for him. You know, growing up, I was always like watching what he was doing, and even people would say this, I never learned from my own mistakes, I learned from his mistakes, and it's definitely pushed me on. I think if he wasn't there, I would be still, you know, a bit behind in the race. I'd still be learning a lot now, whereas I still am learning, but you know, I've learned a lot in a short space of time because he's been pushing me. I don't want his name all over, and it's the same for him. You know, it's like, everyone is talking about one brother. Like last year for him, it was quite difficult because I had some really good events. I had a battle against James around 1 o'clock, which, you know, blew up, and it kind of blew into his face, really. You know, he was this guy who everyone was talking about, and now the younger brother is like, you know, pushing on and talking about me. And then this year, you know, the start of the year hasn't been easy for me. We've had a good result, 4 places, our best result in Drift Masters, and for me, watching from the outside, you know, everyone is like, oh, Jack is like on a mission and stuff. It is quite hurtful, you know, because you want to be that person everyone is talking about as well. So I think it's quite good for me to be able to feel that, because last year he talked about it a lot, and you know, it wasn't his best year, and I didn't really realise until I'm in the situation now. But I think this year is a taster of what's to come next year. I think next year we're going to push really, really hard, and it's going to be by far our biggest year yet.
Going into the final, it wasn't exactly like I wanted to win. Like, it wasn't going to make a difference. Like, we were both on top, like, so it didn't matter. I just wanted to go and put on a show, like, just try and get as close as I could and just have a laugh. Like, that's what I like about it, is the fact that when we both get that far, it's like you can't lose, so it doesn't really matter what happens. So like, we didn't go out there being like, oh, like, I'm definitely going to beat you. We went out there and we were like, let's have a laugh, like, and that's what it was.
I'd say the radios are going to be off. It's just going to be full hell for leather. There's only going to be one winner out of it, so it's going to be interesting.
They want to listen to no one.
Hey, have you any doors for a 15?
Don't think for 1 second that Jack Shannon will be handing anything here to Conor, because he's had a rough couple of years and he is back on it, back feeling like he is the man to beat, and he won't hand anything to his brother. Nothing was ever handed to him. He's had to go out and work for every last trophy, every last podium, every last finish that he's ever made.
And look at Conor Shanahan right with Jack Shannon on initiation here.
Yes, side by side through that first corner, and almost in unison as they just take it nice and wide to clip 3. 2 boys in their prime, doing what they love to do best. All over Jack as Jack throws it to the wall. One last ditch attempt from Conor as he tries to stake a claim in this final, his first ever win on an Irish Extreme class, if he could overcome his brother.
Jack's wipers after stopping.
Jack Shanahan's wipers have failed on the front of his car,
which did put a question in the air, is this safety done, because the water was coming heavy down.
So I had to call Droney, and I was like, man, I said, the wiper's not working, and he was able to just turn it freely.
Jack informed me he was fine, so I took his word for it and we let him go with it. But when he was coming down the straight, he did the greatest thing I've ever seen. He actually stayed outside of Conor's spray.
Because I knew that if I was behind him, all the water would be spraying on my windscreen. So then I had to like drop back, and I tucked in behind him, and we flicked in, and I couldn't see a thing.
Jack is all over the rear bumper of the S15 in that GD86 as he brings everything to the fight, wheel to wheel as they slide out to clip 3. Jack with a huge straight, possibly visibility issues, but he gets right back into it. They're nose on nose, wheel on wheel.
Contact between both drivers as they now transition for the final time to that one. Look at the transition from Jack Shanahan, but he strains a little bit in it. Will Conor finally get his first ever win in Irish Pro Drifting?
This is the moment for Conor Shanahan.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, written off in it.
No, they're ready to go again.
Today was a really, really good day for us. Two guys, you know, who were just like living the dream and doing what we love, but we work really hard for it. And I think a lot of people don't see what goes behind the scenes. You know, we put a lot of work in this year. We took a massive risk what we did this year, building 2 new cars. You know, there was a lot of budget spent to do it, but you know, we needed to do it. We needed 2 fresh cars. I needed a blank canvas to start with, and we're getting good results. And I think for the rest of the championship, we can even get better results.
Taking second position on the podium. Will you please give it up for Jack Shanahan?
The wins we have is definitely one thing that is the only thing you can actually take from the whole lot. Like, you know, like it's kind of one thing is that you have one up, and that's the only way you can do it. Just so this is the first time Conor beat me like on like level playing field, like no issues with the cars working, so he can definitely take that point.
That means your winner of round 3 of the Link ECU Drift Games Extreme is Conor Shanahan!
Definitely was a really, really good feeling to finally beat him fair. You know, of course, you know, I'm not going to kick it in his face. There'll be another day like this. He's going to beat me, I'm going to beat him, and I hope it stays that way, competing at the same level and keep getting higher together. And that's what we want to do now. We want to progress to the level where we think we should be together, not just one of us.
At the end of that event, I was blown away. I mean, you expect when the rain comes in that you're going to let's just get it done. Let's just get it finished. We're not going to get close battles. We're not going to get tight stuff on the track. It's not going to be impressive. But it was the total opposite of this event. It was amazing to see the Shanahans out there battling each other, brother on brother, door to door in the rain. And that track is particularly difficult to be close, especially on the initiation when it's that wet. And for Jack to even do runs with no wipers working on the car, it was just incredible stuff. And the scenes of the whole Shanahan family at the podium, it really warms your heart. And we were all under a gazebo trying to celebrate in absolutely miserable weather, and it goes to show you can't dampen the spirits of those people. They've been through the works, and every time they come through they still celebrate. They're still popping champagne and lashing rain. It's incredible. It was a really fun event to watch by the end, and you know, kudos to those drivers. I don't think drivers from many countries can come in there and put on a show like that and finish a show like that unless they're Irish and unless they've got that level of talent. But even though the driving was incredible, you know, as everything had gone this season, we couldn't celebrate because we had received a call from Mondello Park which had told us that the attendance was way down. In fact, they had lost money on the event, which then, you know, put our end of the season in jeopardy, put our relationship with Mondello in jeopardy. And yeah, you know, it was a damp, wet teardown. Everybody was soaked. The mood was quite low. And you know, I think it was that evening that I looked at a very wet track team, Marshall team, our team, and I think it had got to me at that point. I think, you know, I wasn't seeing as many positives as I had been years before. And, you know, personally, it was taking a toll on me, on my personality. I think financially it was taking a massive toll on us, obviously. But, you know, at that particular time, I sat in the office as we finished up that event, and for a number of reasons, that was it. I knew I had to leave. It just wasn't working. It was like, you know, it was like a breakup. It's like there's love there, you know, there's familiarity, there's passion, there's everything, but both sides know it's not working. So I decided to take probably the biggest decision of my career, and that was to leave Irish drifting.
Next time on Smoke and Mirrors.
It's probably the highlight of the year for me. It's just one of those venues where it's electric.
And it looks like I'm going to have to take him down a second time.
It was tough, like, and I was very, very angry.
Getting towards the most.
I could just stop now. I could just not say this.